I've got a clip here of Mark Dolan and Peter Barnes trying to talk some sense into one of these open borders fanatics. And honestly, the arrogance on display is going to make your blood boil. Let's get into it.
Sophie Church, the political reporter at the Daily Mail newspaper, has revealed that asylum seekers will be housed in newly built council houses as part of a push to end the use of asylum hotels and private landlords. Around 200 local authorities have indicated interest in the government pilot scheme that would fund the building of new properties or the refurbishment of derelict housing to make room for asylum seekers. 5 councils, Brighton and Hove, Hackney, Peterborough, Thanet and Powys, have confirmed they're keen to take part in the scheme. How's this going to go down with my viewers and listeners, do you think, Peter Barnes?
I think this is going to go down like a cup of hot sick, if I'm being brutally honest, because, yes, again, this is looking like the people who have come here illegally seem to get everything. Everybody in this country seem to get nothing. That narrative, at this time, to do it makes no sense, because you've just created the perfect wedge issue as we go into local elections. This is just terrible politics, and it's just terrible policy. I mean,
why is it terrible policy?
Because fundamentally, where have you magicked the £100 million from to this extra funding into this scheme? Where's that come from? It all just seems to have been announced on the huff because they seem to have to do something. Because, yet again, this is the Labour Party being incapable of having the political courage to dismantle the ECHR, dismantle the Refugee Convention.
You're not concerned about the billions we're paying to private companies to house asylum seekers?
Loads. But we can't do... I don't want to... The easiest way to do that is to leave the ECHR,
Would you like to reduce
all
that
of that.
number that we're spending on asylum hotels?
Yes, massively, to zero.
So this policy will do that? This
no,
will reduce
it won't reduce
the amount
it.
of spending we're giving to private companies?
Yes.
Why won't it?
Because, yet again, this is the same thing that we hear time and time again, that unfortunately that's not how this will work, because you'll then find that these companies will have investments in the building firms and all the rest of it. These companies aren't just a one single block. That's the point.
But if you use public money to buy houses that you put asylum seekers in, you don't then have to house those asylum seekers in housing that is paid for it's owned by private companies.
Yes, I understand the logic of that.
Money.
Yes, but
well, so that's
do we really think it's going to be a stop at 100 million? Do we really think it's going to be delivered on time? Do we really think anything is going to be actually deliverable?
That's speculation. We can't see the future. But what I'm asking you, Peter, is it a good policy? And I think it is, and you seem to have accepted it is as well, because it's going to save taxpayer money.
Because on the fundamental basis, do you know what I actually care about? Giving the people of this country the £100 million to build council houses so they can live in them.
And they will, because as you know...
But this is specifically for refurbished homes for asylum, to house asylum seekers. So how is that for the local people?
Because, as you know, these are being leased to local councils for 10 years, then they are going to be...
Oh, so the people in this country have to get to the back of the queue. Is that what the Labour Party are now arguing?
If you allow me to, and I'm sorry that I'm explaining the policy to you, this feels awkward, but you know they're going to be used for asylum seekers for 10 years.
Did you hear that? 10 years. He says it so casually. Just wait 10 years, Grandma, then you might get a flat. They're telling the British working class to get to the back of the line and wait a decade while the people who just arrived illegally get settled in. And let's be real, in 10 years, will they actually move them out? Of course not. There'll be some human rights lawyer claiming it's inhumane to move them because they put down roots. This is a permanent displacement of British people from the social housing system.
Then they're going to be used by councils for whatever they want.
So yet again, the Labour Party's position is Brits to the back of the queue, asylum seekers to the front of the queue.
No, it's save taxpayer money and then create council houses that last forever. So why not put
Brits to the front of the queue?
Brits are at the front.
Well, you just said asylum seekers at the front of the queue.
What queue are we talking about?
I'll give you the queue. The queue of 1.3 million people who are currently sitting on a housing waiting list.
Yes.
1.3 million people. So I think the 1.4 should be the asylum seekers. And the first 1.3
but you've talked about
Brits.
a queue. Which queue are you talking about?
That queue. The list of people that need a council house that is being ignored, put to the back of the queue for people that have come into this country.
That list has gone up 3% under Labour, by the way. People waiting for social housing.
Look, I think I'm the only councillor in the room. I really hate to explain all this, but this is not one queue. There is a queue that if you come and you need council housing, you are banded, and that is done on a needs assessment. So it doesn't matter where you're from. Yeah. The most important thing is how badly are you in need.
There's a lot of people in need at a lot of different levels.
Terribly
no one's
ill,
denying
you've got a lot of children, you're not making enough money, you're going to be banded quite highly.
who came to this
God.
country illegally at the front,
Peter,
and
I'm
everybody
trying
else
to
goes
explain the
back.
facts to you,
But
and you're
that's the
desperate
point.
to spit out
No,
rhetoric.
I'm not
I know
spitting
this will
out
go down
rhetoric.
well with viewers and listeners.
No, I don't really
Talking
care
about
about
the
that,
queue.
as everybody
they're,
knows.
They're going to love to hear
One
it.
at a time, one at a time.
This is the fundamental nature of this policy, is that some people get to jump the queue.
What's really frustrating is here you come not equipped with the facts, and you're reaching for rhetoric because it's
I'm not
easy and because it
reaching.
goes down well with your.
Says the
But
one. I'm sorry, talking about taxpayer money.
You've accepted that this will save taxpayers money, so you conceded on that point.
Look at the smugness. He thinks this is a university debate club. He thinks because he trapped Barnes on a technicality about saving money that he's won the moral argument. He hasn't. The moral argument is that a government's first duty is to its own people. Sebastian is totally detached from reality. He calls valid anger rhetoric. To people like him, your desire to have a cohesive community and a roof over your head is just populist rhetoric. He despises the very people he claims to be saving money for.
On a
in the
speculation,
short term.
by the way, to
In the
use your
short
word,
term.
in the speculation,
Because
you
oh
just
my God,
by your
do
own
I have
argument.
to repeat this?
Okay.
Do I-
Yes,
I'm going to throw Sebastian a bone. I'm going to throw you a
Go
bone
on.
New Year's.
Go on,
My
thank
New Year's
you.
resolution, which is that this is a problem that Labour have inherited from the Conservatives. Okay, these asylum seekers, this is not exclusive to the last 18 months. So you've got people that are here seeking asylum, enter the country legally or illegally, that say that I've got to stay because of terror and all the rest of it. So these people are here. Right, it's not exclusively a problem of Labour's making. They have to live somewhere. We don't want them in hotels, and we also don't want them expensively accommodated in private housing because, again, it's bad for the taxpayer. So Sebastian is right to make that point, and I think we need to be intelligent how we house asylum seekers. The wider issue, Sebastian, which I think will prey on the minds of my viewers and listeners, is it's no problem to swallow this policy now if we are cutting supply. But the issue you've got is that the policies of this government are seeing further illegal boat crossings, 70,000 since Keir Starmer was elected. So this is an ongoing scandal, an ongoing national crisis. If you could say to the public, don't worry, we're stopping the boats, and then we will basically recalibrate and catch up with those who need housing now. And then in 10 years' time, I'm delighted to say there will be no social housing for illegal immigrants because they won't be here.
The point is, this is a problem that nobody has ever fixed before. It's so hard. It's why we talk about it all the time. And I think you have to be, again, pragmatic.
But
it's
no
about
focus on supply.
supply in terms of
The ongoing issue.
Of course there's focus on supply, which is why we have a deal with France, with Germany, with Greece, working with
How's that
European
going? How's
neighbours.
it working out?
Because this is a pan-European problem.
You've got the facts apparently. So what are the facts on those deals with France and how it's affecting illegal immigration and smashing the gangs? How's that going?
Well, we had and I hesitate to weaponise this argument, but we had the political correspondent of GB News, dare I mention that name in this building.
I'm familiar with that network.
Predicting that the France deal would work and would reduce immigration and the issue would go away. And I sincerely hope he's right. I really
they've got
do.
a few nutters over at GB News. I would take what they say with a pinch of salt since I'm not there anymore. But look, so I want to acknowledge that this is a crisis that Labour have inherited.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
They also, can I just say,
and I don't think it's easy to be Prime Minister, and I don't think it's easy to be the government. But this pill would be easier to swallow, I think, for my audience. If you could say, listen, we've got asylum seekers, they've got to live somewhere, not the hotels, not the private, you build a council flat, and then they live there, and in 10 years, you say it's in the public property, public good, a public resource, that's fine. But what this will is completely backfired, because if people feel like the boat crossings will continue ad infinitum, well, then you're going to keep building council property for these people, and it's going to enrage the public.
Well, the point is at the moment is that people are more angry about them being in hotels, and I think this is an effort to get people out of
here in
hotels.
The first place, no matter where you house them, they don't want them in the country. I think that's the anger. This is what the Labour Party have really got wrong. They think if you just keep moving them around, then the anger will go away. People want them out of the country, and that supply stopped. That's how you fix the problem. All you're doing is shuffling pieces around the board.
Barnes is spot on here. They are just shuffling the deck chairs on the Titanic. Sebastian thinks the problem is where we put them. The problem is that they are here. And notice how he pivots to right to buy. Typical lefty deflection. Blame Thatcher. Blame the policies of 40 years ago. anything to avoid admitting that importing the population of a small city every year is what's actually crushing our infrastructure.
You're not aiming to win the game.
Well, let's take another angle to this, which is right to buy. And I would argue this is a huge part of the problem, that council houses were essentially sold off en masse. And if you are supportive of building more housing and having enough for people who need it and cutting that list, the housing waiting list that I deal with in my job every day, and sadly can't help everybody who wants to be helped, and that's a great source of sorrow, you would in no uncertain terms denounce right to buy as an awful policy that shrunk the housing stock permanently.
Oh, I don't disagree, because we don't build anything in this country. I've always said this is half the problem. But as you want to be a pragmatist,
we didn't need
that's what it is.
to build social houses in the 80s and the 90s. Even under Tony Blair, there wasn't actually an issue of capacity when it came to social housing until really the last 15 years. So, you know, that's why Thatcher didn't build new council houses. We didn't need them, and we didn't under Blair. So things have changed. But, I mean, would you acknowledge, Sebastian, the public anger at the idea, the principle, the optics of a council property being built and then accommodating asylum seekers?
We're focusing on building the properties, though. This policy isn't necessarily about building. It's about buying, and it's about refurbishing derelict properties as well. And I think that's a really sensible thing to do.
And then putting asylum seekers in there rather than Brits, 1.3 million of whom are waiting.
Well, yes, because if people are angry about hotels and you can take them out and put them into a derelict property, that's a good thing. And then if 10 years' time that reverts to the council and they can use that for anybody who needs it, then overall everybody is helped.
Brits just have to put up and shut up then for 10 years. Is that the argument?
So. Did I say that?
No, well, essentially you did.
No,
because you said
so.
you say that they've got to wait because you've got to wait 10 years for this 1.3 million people that are waiting right now that apparently aren't as important as the asylum seekers.
You're assuming that that nobody's building council houses.
Clearly not at the rate that we need.
They are.
Not at the rate that we need.
Of course not at the rate that we need.
So these ones that we're building specifically for a group of people that aren't people that are taxpayers and need help. We're giving it to people who came here illegally. That's what we're doing.
And your solution is let's boot them all out.
Well, I would like to.
What kind of a Briton are you? What kind of a Briton are you when you say nobody must come to our country and seek our help?
Well, I didn't say that either, Sebastian.
You did. Because you said...
No, I didn't.
Well, do you want any asylum seekers? Well, let's focus on this. Do you want any asylum seekers in this country?
If you come with a legitimate cause, yes. My problem is I don't agree with most of the legitimate causes.
Peter, do you understand how the asylum system works?
This is infuriating. We test them. What a joke. The test is showing up, throwing your passport in the channel and reciting a script provided by an activist lawyer. Sebastian acts like there's some rigorous forensic investigation happening. There isn't. We have an acceptance rate that makes us the laughing stock of Europe. If you can fog a mirror and tell a sob story, you're in. And Sebastian calls that a system. It's not a system, it's a turnstile.
Please continue to insult my intelligence.
Well, no, because you've just betrayed a complete misunderstanding of the asylum system. People come and we test them. We decide.
But
you can't. That is literally what the asylum system is.
This is the point. As I've just said,
that's
I don't
such
agree.
a basic tenet.
Yes, because if you actually
Peter, if you're going to come on here and debate, have the facts at hand, please.
Again, if you actually listen to what I said I don't agree with the claims that are being made.
So only
which means
honest
I don't agree
brokers
with
should
the
turn
tests,
up.
as I've sat in that chair and in that one, and said multiple times.
Okay, so what's your dream asylum system?
The system.
What would it look like?
It needs to be significantly more robust than what we've got now, and it needs to be making sure that we can verify claims, we know who people are, and all this kind of thing. The problem is now we just seem to have rubber stamp everybody. We have one of the highest percentage rated of asylum approvals.
Yes, the French approve dramatically fewer asylum claims than we do.
They take many more than we do.
One easy win would be that if you've entered the country illegally, you'll never receive asylum in this country, particularly if you're fleeing terror from a country called France.
What's your question, sorry?
I don't think that anybody that has left France, got on a dinghy and comes to the UK should ever be granted asylum.
But so fewer
because they're in a safe country.
Fewer people come here than come to France, then come to Germany.
Sure. But
why should we be the exception? Why should we have a lower duty than our European neighbours?
I think the principle of fleeing a safe country, which is France, entering a dinghy, which is a humanitarian disaster because people are dying in the Channel, and then coming to the country, breaching our border, they should never be rewarded with asylum in this country.
But this is the problem, that language around breaching our border.
Very different if they've come from Eritrea,
I take
or if they've come from
lot of
Afghanistan, I understand it's more complex. But if you come from France, and you enter this country, you breach the border of this country, then there's no justification for asylum.
Well, I think what you're doing when you are leaving a war-torn country is your next decision is where do I want to invest the rest of my life? Where do I want to contribute?
You think if you're fleeing a
That's
war-torn
not your
country,
choice.
you'd
Well,
take the first bit of refuge you could find. Surely,
no, I think
what
if
you
you're
do is
gonna
you don't shop around for the best deal.
If you're going to set up the rest of your life somewhere, you want to make sure it's somewhere where you might speak the language, you might be able to integrate properly. We know we want people to integrate,
Why
don't we?
can't
It's
you
important.
integrate in France? What's wrong with France?
Well, if you're fluent in English and you don't speak a word of French, you should probably go to an English-speaking country.
What about I mean, how many of the people that cross the channel in dinghies are fluent in English?
Sorry?
How many people that cross the channel illegally on dinghies are fluent in English?
I don't have a figure for you, but what I can say anecdotally is that when
Is
I
that
go...
all you need now? You can speak. You've done Duolingo, so you're in.
No, of course not. Of course not. But people have the legal right to claim asylum in any country they wish. And they are simply exercising that right.
Exercising their right. That's the mentality. The right of the invader supersedes the right of the citizen. And notice how he dodged the integration question. He doesn't care if they speak English. He doesn't care if they share our values. To him, Britain is just an economic zone, a hotel with no manager. Shop around for the best deal. That is exactly what they are doing. They are economic migrants shopping for the softest touch. And thanks to people like Sebastian, they found it.
And I agree with you. And if legitimately they come from France to the UK to seek asylum, that's not a problem. But what's happening is they're coming across the channel in dinghies. They're often throwing documentation into the sea. They're being told by human rights lawyers what to say when they get here. And it's a mockery of the system.
Are you criticising their right to legal advice?
Well, I'm criticising the motivations of human rights lawyers who are part of this illegal immigration industry.
But do you not think that they have the right to legal advice?
Well, I think yes, they most certainly do. And the legal advice that they would be receiving if I was in charge, we can only dream, is I'm afraid to tell you that you've entered the country illegally from a safe country of France. So my legal advice is you will not receive asylum and you'll be deported.
But they're purely doing what they're entitled to do. They're entitled to claim asylum where they want, and they're entitled to a lawyer.
Exactly, and I would change that entitlement. And I would change that entitlement. And I believe in it. That the people that should get asylum are the ones who have a legitimate reason, such as the Ukrainians.
Yes.
Okay, and they did not cross the channel in
And we built
dinghies.
houses for them and for the Afghans as well, but I didn't see
And
the
here's the point, I think the public are comfortable with that. I don't think that most of the public are too concerned about the Ukrainians and the Hong Kongers. Because they understand what's happened in Hong Kong, which is now under China rule. They understand what happened in Ukraine. It was a country that was invaded.
Well, that isn't our duty to educate people on what's happening in Eritrea, as
but
you
I
say,
don't know why you're taking
Sudan,
a bullet
and
for
Afghanistan.
I don't know why you're taking a bullet for the folk that come across the channel from a safe country in France in boats, many of whom are economic migrants.
Well, if they are, then they'll have their asylum denied and they'll be sent away, won't they?
And that's the thing. And Peter, they don't, because the majority are granted asylum. Partly because human rights lawyers tell them how to game the system and how to play a game.
Peter, you sound very confident on this. Could you please...
Including becoming Christians. It's amazing. I'm amazed how many people from
Russell Brand, Tommy Robinson.
I'm amazed by how many people have become Christians once they cross the channel.
I would also
in a dinghy.
remember the Illegal Migration Act that was passed just before the last general election has I think it's Article 3, that if you come into the country illegally, you don't get to claim asylum. That was not activated by the Labour government. Why?
Did you see what happened? Did you see what happened to the backlog? It shot up because they essentially tied their own hands legally. A big part of the reason we're in this position now is because the Tories passed that law.
No, not really, because if you get put on a dinghy, go back. You hit the British shores. I don't understand why you aren't put on a bus straight to the airport. Off you go.
Well, there's a little step in the middle, which is called claiming asylum.
You get to jump the queue.
What is this queue? What is this queue?
It's called prioritising people.
What's the name of this queue that you've come up with today?
Oh, come on, let's be real, Sebastian. You've already admitted that you prioritise people. That is the definition of a queue, where you put people in categories.
There are multiple queues in this world, and you're talking about the queue as if it's this all-seeing,
it's a general term in which what we have to understand is who is getting the preferential treatment by the system and by the state.
Answer me this. Why are you so determined to pit people against each other?
I'm not.
Well, you are.
Not really.
Isn't the government doing that?
You're talking about the Brits versus the asylum seekers. Why are you doing that?
Because unfortunately the Labour Party have made it that way. The Labour Party have made it that way. And it's been the left's interest. The left in general and the Labour Party.
Why the left?
Why do you not understand this?
I fundamentally don't. I'm completely baffled.
Explain to me why you don't understand that.
Because well, explain to me what your point is.
asylum. There we go.
Well, listen, what we're going to do, this is a fantastic debate, and we're going to, and I really value Sebastian's.
I know it's early.
I really value Sebastian's views, and I really value Peter's, and that's what this show and this channel's all about. So we're going to keep this conversation going, and I think Roger in Liverpool's not happy, and he's going to contribute to this. What do we think about this? Have we got to simply deal with the hotels issue by allowing asylum seekers to live in repurposed accommodation, or is it jumping the queue? Is there a queue? We'll debate all of that next. Well, what about this? The government are planning to use a repurposed housing stock to accommodate asylum seekers. Is it jumping the queue? What is a queue? Let's get the views of Roger in Liverpool. Top of the morning, Roger.
Morning, Mark. Morning, gentlemen. How are you doing?
Very good. What do you make about this heated debate that's happened now, played out between Peter Barnes and Sebastian Salek? What do you think, Rog?
I got a habit of always going back to the foundation of an issue. All right. First of all, yes, we want to build all these houses for migrants or refurbish them, but we've got to stop what's coming into the country in the first place. Otherwise, you're going to have a constant pipeline that's full of people, and you have to constantly build or revamp homes. That's number one. Number two, if you don't stop them, okay, you're never going to get on top of the problem. Number three, you end up now having contracts with builders saying, okay, you're going to build, let's see, contractor Joe, you're going to get a contract for £100 million and you've got to build 100 homes, just for example, or 1,000 homes, okay? And there's no limitation as to when he's supposed to be finished, so then it goes to cost overrun. So the 100 million becomes 150 million, then it's 200 million. And it's just a never-ending loop. It's like everyone thinks that there's this big black hole full of pound notes that everyone can just extract from. There's no proper procurement, no thinking through of it. It's just a matter of coming onto Twitter or coming onto a press conference, and I'm talking now about the politicians. They say something that they think they're going to pacify the public with, right? But there's no actual plans. The OBR don't know the arse from the elbow, sorry to say it. Okay, and the politicians are just blowing smoke up our backsides.
Roger in Liverpool, stay with us. Your reaction, Sebastian?
Look, I still think this makes good financial sense. I would, Roger, respectfully push back on your point around not letting people in. And it goes back to the right to claim asylum. And yes, sometimes that's uncomfortable. Yes, often that is very expensive. But if we want to be a credible player in this world, which to me is very important, I care about how Britain is seen on the global stage. And I want us to be a country that is giving people a chance.
Do you care, Peter Barnes, do you care how Britain is seen on the international stage? Because I don't.
Yes.
I care how Britain is seen by the people of this country.
Boom. That is the divide in this country right there. Sebastian cares about credibility on the world stage. He wants a pat on the head from the UN and the EU. He wants to look civilised at Davos cocktail parties. Mark and Peter care about the people actually living here. Who gives a damn if France thinks we're mean? France is dumping their problem on us. Being a credible player shouldn't mean being the world's doormat.
Yes, the reality is Britain is seen as a doormat. That's what it is. You know, you just rock up here, you get put up in a hotel, and now you get given a house. It's wonderful, isn't it? You know, what is the point? You want to talk about credibility on the world stage. Controlling your borders is the most basic thing you can do, and this country has not done it, and I will agree with you for a very long time.
I'm going to ask Roger this question in a second. Roger, get your answer ready. Peter, do you think that if you've entered the country illegally from a safe country like France, that you should not receive asylum?
You shouldn't get it.
Really? What do you think? What do you think about that, Roger? Because it would cause uproar, and it would be in breach of international law if you couldn't claim asylum having entered the country on a dinghy. What do you think, Rog?
I don't think they should be allowed into the country. You know where they should be applying for it? The nearest embassy from the country that they're originating from. So if they ended up in, if there's, say Afghanistan, there's no British embassy. Okay, how did you get into Germany? Right, go to the British embassy in Germany and do your application there. Okay, so they remain in the country that they first arrived in, be it Germany, France, Italy, whatever, before they get it. And they have to have that document to get them into this country. They have to be cleared at the first port of entry, for want of a word, which would be a British embassy in the country closest to them. Tidy it up. Because the minute they get onto our shores, okay, I'm sorry, it's all smoke and mirrors. We do not get rid of the people.
Roger, thank you very much for your call. What about that? Going back to Roger's point about supply, a point I made earlier, that the public could accept this if they saw numbers coming down.
Look, I hope numbers will come down. I hope not, but it is so contingent on so many things, isn't it? And I think one of the biggest factors is what's going on in the world. What are the conflicts playing out and how are they affecting us? And it ties back to the conversation we were having earlier with Trump and our question around, is the world now safer? Sadly, there are enough conflicts that are generating people who are being displaced. And look, my heart goes out to them. If you are forced to leave your home and if you're forced to leave your country, you've not had a very lucky lot in life. And I hope that if that, God forbid, ever happens to us, then other countries would show us the same generosity.
OK, what about this voice note from Vivian? Thank you, David. Take it away.
Hey, Mark. It's Vivian from Oxfordshire. Just been listening about the idea of building new council houses for migrants, which is actually a pretty stupid idea. The migrants are never going to end. They keep coming on a regular basis, more and more arriving. Most of them, a majority are filled with Somalians, of all people. What do they bring in? Absolutely nothing. And more coming every day. You can keep building forever at this rate. Absolutely stupid. No, stop the pull factor, stop the benefits, stop the housing. Tell them no more. Tell France to go and sling its hook. There's not going to be any more fishing until they sort this out, and no more money. Got to play hardball with these people now. Been a soft touch for long enough. Can't wait for him to go and Nigel in. Thanks, Mark. Great show as always. Bye.
Vivian, thank you for your voice note. Judy has a voice note for us as well.
Good morning, it's Judy from Altos, West Yorkshire. Building council houses for illegal immigrants is just absolutely ridiculous. I can remember years ago, you used to be able to put your name down for a council house and then you could nip into council and they'd tell you how far up the list you were. You know, are you 6 down? And then, you know, because I can remember my late sister-in-law, we used to go regular one. She would after a council house, see how far up the list she was. But this is just giving them to people that have no right to be in this country. Absolutely ridiculous. They should be detained and deported. Never mind giving them anything. Thank you.
There you go. I mean, look, you know, Vivian and Judy are not happy about this. What is the path forward, Sebastian, to resolve this issue?
To resolve the entire asylum crisis.
So we don't have to have this conversation in 10 years' time?
Yeah, look, fantastic question. I think a big part of it is accepting that this is going to be a piecemeal solution. There is not going to be a single silver bullet that will solve this problem. And that's what winds me up a bit when people get downbeat about the France deal, for example. Of course, that deal on its own isn't going to solve the migrant crisis, but it's part of it, and it takes time, and you have to build it up. And I'd like to see those kinds of discussions continue. I'd like to see more deals with other countries, because this is an issue that originates elsewhere, whether that's in Africa or Asia via Europe. We have to be cutting this off at the source. So, yes, the visual element to us is the boats. It's a very vivid image, isn't it? And it's what we all bear in mind as we talk about this. But it's a problem that starts much, much further away, and we have to acknowledge that as well.
Emmanuel Macron is not a raging right-winger, pretty centre ground in French politics. And he said just a couple of years ago, we cannot accept the misery of the world. Was he right to say that?
I don't know what the context was for the
what he meant is that there's probably 2 or 3 billion people that would have a better life in France, Britain, or anywhere else in the Western world, and that it's not practical to think that you could accommodate them.
Well, if what he's saying is that we can't take the majority of people, then he's completely right. And
well,
in
I
fact,
thought we had a duty to, according to you.
So
at what point does our duty end?
OK, so I'm going to finish my sentence now, and I'm going to say that the majority of people don't come to Britain or France or Germany. The majority of people stay in the Middle East and stay in Africa, and they seek asylum nearby.
That's perfectly fine, and I understand that. However, again, where does our duty end? Because you said we had a duty to do this. Where does our duty end? That's what people in this country want the answer to.
We have a duty
because we have
to
seemed to have rolled
claims.
out. Yes, we seem to have rolled out all this stuff. Now they're getting housing, hotels, benefits, legal advice, all the rest of it. When do we say no? When have we done our bit?
Well, we often say no. We often tell people...
we don't compared to most other countries.
Well, we
keep saying yes. That's half the problem.
Well, our rate of enforced deportations have gone up. over the last year.
Well,
so
why do
more
you've got
people
you've
are
got a
being
number
sent
of
away
foreign
against
leaders
their
that wish it
will
was a little bit lower.
because we're saying to them, I'm sorry, you do not meet the threshold for asylum. We're going to have to move you on.
That number is nowhere near
You
what it
mentioned
should
10
be.
years. You held the carrot on the stick of 10 years, and then this housing will be released for the 1.3 million people waiting for social housing who are actually British people. Derek's not sure about that. He said, where are these migrants going to go in 10 years' time? A hotel?
I don't know. It's hard to look forward 10 years, isn't it?
But you said that the property will be released in about a decade's time.
Oh, yeah, I didn't make up the policy. I'm just reading off a bit of paper like the rest of us.
Yes. But I was accused of speculation that you're using something yet again as a firm directive.
Well, no, because you were
Yes.
you were talking about what you thought would happen in the future. I'm just reading off a bit of paper, which, incidentally,
Yes,
you
but
hadn't read because you seem
I
quite
d- I
surprised
have,
by
quite.
the 10 years.
I have read it, but again, continue to insult my intelligence.
Well,
That
Peter,
really
why did it come as
proves your
such as a
point.
surprise to you that this reverted to...
It didn't.
Well, it did.
It didn't.
Okay, well, we'll play that clip back later
didn't.
because
I will.
Nicola says, Nicola in Norfolk, Britain is currently seen as a soft-touch laughingstock on the world stage. If Sebastian is so keen for the illegals to be looked after by us, then he and his type who argue for them can put them up on their sofa if they haven't got a spare room. Peter says, morning Mark, funny how it's only young men who are fleeing for their lives, so-called war-torn countries, Peter in Suffolk. And this from Trevor, who says, what about this? The reason these people are getting so many, the reason we're getting so many people here isn't because of world events. It's because they get everything once they are here. They get housing, they get food, they get money, they get healthcare, they get everything.
I just come back to this idea of why are we pitting people against each other? Why is it the people versus the migrants? Why do we have to create this conflict? Why can't we just
Because
say...
there's a finite amount of resources.
Well, no,
And
that's
it's about
exactly it. That's
allocation point.
exactly it. That is the mindset
Yes.
that so many people have, and it is so infuriating. And I'm sorry, this is not a personal thing.
It is finite
But it is
resources.
not, because we can grow the pie. We can grow.
Well,
we
How's
can
I'd
create.
love
that
us to.
growing? I
I'd
mean,
love us to do that.
how's that going? We've got 1% growth annually at the moment.
But that's exactly what this is about. This is about a growth mindset and understanding that there is enough to go around if you create that growth.
Yes.
All
I'd
right.
love that.
Well,
Please
listen,
again.
The size of the pie is not fixed.
I've got bad news for you. You guys are brilliant together, which means...
Sorry, I thought I'd been quite rude to you today.
I have a little.
But it's like the double act that secretly they pretend not to get on, but they love each other deep down. Listen, brilliant debate. Please come back soon, lads.
Will do.
Sebastian Salek, Peter Barnes.
You heard the man. Grow the pie. Meanwhile, you're getting the crumbs. They are laughing at us. They are taking your money, building brand new estates and handing them over to people who have no right to be here. Or are telling you to wait a decade for a scrap of dignity. It is a total inversion of what a nation is supposed to be. I want to hear from you. If the government has a spare £100 million lying around, who should it be for? The veterans and families who have paid into this system their entire lives, or the people who just push their way to the front of the queue? Let me know in the comments, is Britain officially full?